I'm Daniel Levine, and this is the Bio Report.
Hub and spoke business models, the use of a central core of business functions with pipeline assets spun out into subsidiary companies, have gained traction for the benefits they can provide in terms of capital efficiency, diversification of risk, and improved access to capital. Izora is applying that business model to accelerate the development of therapies for ophthalmic indications. We spoke to Teresa Hia, CEO of Izora, about why the hub and spoke business model is well suited for the development of ophthalmic therapies, its initial assets in license from the Singapore Eye Research Institute, and how it identifies early stage candidates with high potential. Teresa, thanks for joining us.
Oh, thank you, Danny, for having me today.
We're going to talk about the therapeutic landscape for eye diseases, Izora, and its hub and spoke business model. Let's start with the business model. We've seen a growing interest in what's known as a portfolio approach or a hub and spoke model. Let's begin with the rationale. What advantages does this approach offer over conventional drug developers, organizations?
Yeah, thank you for that question. So Izora is accelerating innovation in ophthalmology, and we are the first dedicated hub and spoke accelerator model. Our hub and spoke model allows us to concentrate on core expertise, whether from clinical development, regulatory, manufacturing, business development, and capital formation into a central hub. And so we look at technologies and assets, pharmaceuticals, therapeutics, and focusing on that and also being opportunistic in medical device, for example. And then what we do is then we build each subsidiary or spoke companies focusing on advancing a specific asset or technology. So the advantages and what this means is that you have less duplication of functions, more efficiency, and the ability to scale multiple programs, companies at once, in comparison to the traditional single asset life sciences or biotech companies that we see. And it helps to diversify risks and gives us a faster path to creating impact and value to all stakeholders.
MIT's Andrew Lo, who helped popularize this model, has argued that one of the rationales for it is the ability to expand the number of candidates in development as a way to reduce risk and thereby expand the pool of potential investors. Is that the reality in practice? Are you looking to conventional life sciences investors, or are you able to access other sources of financing from people who would not traditionally be investing in this space because of its high level of risk?
Yeah, so that's exactly what we're seeing. From the validated model that we've seen now in hub and spoke, like Bridge Bio and others, a portfolio approach does broaden the pool of investors because it increases probability of success, lowers single asset risk, and at Izora, we're speaking with both traditional life sciences investors and strategic partners who want exposure to ophthalmology as a whole. Some prefer backing, the hub. Some or others are more interested in a specific spoke or specific asset or technology. So this model lets us at Izora do both.
Is there a sweet spot you've considered in terms of the size of the pipeline for this model to work or the amount of funding you need?
Yeah, so it's all about balance. Um, so when you have too few programs, you don't get the benefit of diversification. When you have too many, you start losing focus and you stretch resources. So for us, a 3 to 5 high quality programs feels right. And a balanced portfolio is what we are looking for, where you have low hanging fruit and the moonshots. So higher risk, more novel technology. This type of portfolio size is ambitious, but it is manageable because it matches with the level of capital we plan to raise, also the amount of human talent or capital that we have to be laser focused and execute well on our plans.
I've seen different companies that describe themselves as hub and spoke models take different approaches. What are the central functions and what are the shared functions in your model?
Yeah, so everyone has a slight differences depending if you're earlier stage, so you're in discovery or you're in the later clinical stage. At Izora, we are an accelerator, which means we look at assets that are near clinic and clinic ready assets. So, which means if you look at the functions that will stay at the hub level, these are your typical G&A, legal finance, where you do your capital fundraising, operations team sit at the hub level, and of course the management team for the hub. At the spoke company levels, we have CEOs that will be placed and subject matter expert, whether a CTO, Chief Technology Officer, Chief Medical Officer. But what we leverage is it's the shared resources, for example, clinical operations, regulatory, manufacturing, etc., so that you don't duplicate functions and being very capital efficient.
One of the advantages of this approach is to create a more dispassionate decision making around programs. This is an industry that emphasizes the importance of failing fast, but often it relies on people making decisions when they may have their own personal success or failure tied to a specific program. Do you find that this approach does give you a more data driven decision making process, one that's a little bit more dispassionate?
Absolutely. Yes. That's one of the biggest strengths. At the hub level, we can review the data uh, dispassionately and make tough calls quickly. So being very objective. Each programs or spoke companies aren't tied to the identity or the career of a single team, right? So we avoid emotional attachment and ensures resources flow to the most promising science or innovation.
Is there something particular about ophthalmology that makes it well suited for this business model? Was that just a decision based on the expertise of the people involved?
Both. So ophthalmology, the field is very diverse in the sense that we are used to different treatment modalities, like small molecules, biologics, gene therapies, devices, and regenerative medicine. And if you look around the landscape, ophthalmology is a very self-contained organ, right, with immune privileged organ as well. And 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 a lot of the talents tend to have done either front of the eye, back the eye, pharmaceutical therapeutics, or medical device and or gene and cell therapy. So it is very, very well suited, this particular model, because it lets us explore across different modalities while leveraging shared expertise, whether from ocular delivery or regulatory pathways, um, patient engagement, and also clinicians or study investigators.
What criteria does Izora use to decide whether to in-license an asset or launch a new subsidy around one?
Yeah, so our strength at Izora are the people, the team. We are seasoned drug developers and entrepreneurs. So because we experience, we have the track record of taking a particular asset or innovation all the way to approval and commercialization. So we set a very high bar in terms of our criteria, handpicking the right asset. So we look at a strong preclinical or early clinical data, a clear mechanism of action, and a significant unmet need in ophthalmology. Then we look at whether the asset can benefit from our centralized infrastructure. Then we also assess what's the competitive landscape, what is the clinical regulatory feasibility, and more importantly, commercial opportunity. So basically, can this particular asset or innovation bring value to the community and different stakeholders? And what can Izora bring in terms of real value to create value for all stakeholders? So those are the criteria we've set ourselves.
I know in your own career, you've worked on a range of modalities from small molecule drugs to gene therapies. Is Izar agnostic about modalities? Is there particular modalities that it's interested in?
We are agnostic to therapeutic modalities. And yes, my team and I have worked across different modalities, whether small molecule biologics and gene or cell therapy. And I believe in ophthalmology, we use all of them. So we're not vetted to one approach. We are focused on finding the right tool for the right disease.
And how are you going about sourcing new candidates to bring into the pipeline? Is this done purely by relationships, or are there other approaches you're taking?
Yeah, we want to be the partner of choice um, with inventors, clinicians, scientists, academic institutions. We have partnered with leading research institutes, universities, biotech founders globally, and this is from years of relationship, credibility that we've built in the field. Our first portfolio or spoke company and first asset that we've in-licensed where we have did a press release recently earlier last month. This came from the Singapore Eye Research Institute, and we have developed a preferred partnership with them. And but we will continue to scout innovation from academic labs and spin outs worldwide because it is important when you build a hub and spoke model to always have a regenerative pipeline to so that we can replenish the pipeline and continue to build on that.
Well, as you think about the field of ophthalmology, where do you see the greatest opportunities for you?
For ophthalmology, there is a lot of unmet need that still needs to be addressed. Um, Millions of patients and lives with vision-threatening diseases like age-related macular degeneration or diabetic retinopathy. Patients are living longer, and the despite having existing therapies, there is still an opportunity to address further diseases because current existing therapies are still inadequate or expensive. So there is a clear unmet need, and as we all know, uh, sight is central to quality of life and independence of our activities of daily living. So even incremental improvements matter, right? Um, for us, for Izora, this is our chance to deliver life-changing innovation to a huge patient community.
You mentioned the agreement with the Singapore Eye Research Institute. Can you give any sense of what the current pipeline looks like?
Yes, so we haven't shared all the details publicly. Our initial set of assets came from Singapore Eye Research Institute, which target major ophthalmic diseases with strong preclinical data and also initial human data. So these are programs we believe can have a real world impact in clinic and really turning breakthrough science into reality.
Where are you in terms of development? Are you in the clinic with any of these yet?
We are entering clinic for our first. It has actually gone into clinic, but we are bringing it into the United States to interact with FDA to run clinical trial from in the United States, and we have other assets that are which we will um, um, share publicly in months to come that are entering clinic. So we have a balanced portfolio of some assets that are, I would say, IND enabling stage, about 12 to 15 months from clinic, to some of the assets that are in clinic. So it's a balanced portfolio.
And are these small molecule drugs? Are they biologics?
Mixture of both. Yeah. So we have small molecules, we have biologics, and cell therapy.
You mentioned Singapore Eye Research Institute. Are there other institutes like that that you've established relationships with yet?
Yes, we haven't disclosed that, but we are looking at one particular one in Europe.
And is the expectation that you would commercialize assets on your own, or is the plan to bring them to a point where you have de-risked them enough to sell them?
So it depends. Some programs may be advanced through commercialization by Izora, especially if they align with our core expertise. Others may be partnered once we've taken this scientific risk out and reach a value creating milestone. The hub and spoke model really gives us that flexibility.
And how much capital have you raised to date, and what's the plan for raising additional capital?
Yeah, we've raised our initial seed financing um, amongst ophthalmology experts and an institutional venture capital firm, Clavis Bio, which is the life sciences arm of Temasek. And with this seed financing, this allows us to launch Izora and to build the hub. Our next round will fund expansion of the pipeline and advancement into the clinic. Because of our model, we can appeal to both investors who want exposure to the entire hub and those who want to back a specific spoke. So we will be kicking off soon a Series A fundraising.
So, do you expect to do a fundraising both for the subsidiary company as well as the parent?
Yes, we'll start with the parent, and then depending on some programs, we will be looking for investors uh, at the stock company, the subsidiaries. Yeah, because yeah, we see both, right? That investors some are more drawn to the diversified structure of Izora as a whole, or um, overall they like that they are backing a portfolio. Others want direct exposure to a specific program or disease area. So the beauty of our model is that we can meet both needs, which strengthens our fundraising flexibility.
And we've been through several difficult years here of financing. Is there any sense of change? How do you find investors in terms of their receptivity to what you're doing?
Yeah, so where it is a difficult market, but I will say that with the right business model, vision, the team, there is capital to be deployed from investors, and I've seen it recently where we just fundraised a seed of financing, and it was oversubscribed in a very short period of time, in less than 2 months. So there is appetite with the right business opportunity and the right team.
Teresa here, CEO of Izora. Teresa, thanks so much for your time today.
Thank you, Danny, for the opportunity to speak to you.
Thanks for listening. The Bio Report is a production of the Levine Media Group. To automatically download this podcast each week, subscribe to our RSS feed or through iTunes or other podcast manager. To join our mailing list, go to levinemediagroup.com. We'd love to hear from you. If you want to drop us a line or are interested in sponsoring this podcast, send email to danny@levinemediagroup.com. Special thanks to Jonah Levine, who composed our theme music, and the Jonah Levine Collective, which performs it.